Welcome everyone to the Supply Chainaics. I'm your host, Glenn Kepke. Welcome Seve Carnera, who's a guest speaker this week on the Supply Chainaics. So Seve, how are you doing?
Good, Glenn. How are you?
I'm well. So loving 2021 thus far. So welcome to the podcast. Would love to have you introduce yourself and your background, especially your expertise in the yard management market.
Sure. So I've been doing YMS systems now for about 8 years. Prior to coming to FourKites, I was with other organizations and did some independent consulting as well. I've implemented and sold systems in North America, including obviously the US, but also Mexico and Canada. And I've also done implementations in the UK, which in and of itself also brings a lot of different dynamics to implementing systems. I've enjoyed my time doing that. It's been a big road for me as far as the different things that I've done in the past.
That's awesome. Well, appreciate everything you do for FourKites, and for our audience members. Today is going to be a first of a 4-part series where we focus on yard management, the industry, as well as solutions for specific verticals. And so for those that maybe aren't as familiar with the YMS system, a YMS system really controls the operation from gate check-in all the way through gate exit. And so in the US, many sites use what's called drop trailers, right? Where you have trailers on standby. In Europe, oftentimes they're called stand trailers. And so when you look at large distribution centers, warehouses, or factories where they've got the footprint to have trailers available on standby, YMS systems really help enable efficiency and automation and security throughout the operation. So Seve, with your expertise, obviously we're fortunate to have you on the series today. Do you mind kind of explaining how yard management has evolved over the last several years within the industry?
Sure. So YMS systems first started out as basically having some visibility into the yard, and then also trying to streamline the gate operations. So first and foremost, the first activity that was key for YMS systems was including those gate activities and capturing those data elements needed at the gate. And when I say data elements, it could include everything from the type of equipment that's being arrived, the size of the equipment, whether it was loaded or empty, things of that nature. And then past that, once it gets into the yard, original YMS systems or older YMS systems would have visibility to the yard, but not necessarily real-time locationing systems, meaning you didn't really have an accurate account of where trailers were actually at within the yard. So that was still a manual process. But since then, things have improved. With the addition of RFID technology, yards are more capable now of having that RTLS or real-time locationing systems within their yard. And that brings great visibility to not only the organization, but it also streamlines operations within the yard as well.
That makes sense. One thing I'm curious to get your take on is, like, where does appointment management fall into it, right? I think of just, as I look back to my career, yard kind of was more physical, right? Appointment management was more separate process. Are we seeing that converge at all with kind of the yard or YMS operations?
Yeah, great point, Glenn. Absolutely. It's super important now for organizations to have an appointment management tool, to have either carriers create their own appointments and give them that responsibility to eliminate the need for needless phone calls, emails, communications back and forth between carriers. And then this way that can also tie into dock management, in that if you tie that appointment into the docks, obviously it doesn't do much good to have a list of appointments if you don't have the dock capabilities as well. So when you tie those two together, that obviously also streamlines the process and improves overall capacity within the yard as well.
That makes sense. So, as you think of kind of the modern era of YMSs, you did a nice job kind of summarizing what YMS used to be. What's your take on what's the modern YMS doing and why, right? So what are those challenges that they're solving for the yard jockeys, for the warehouse manager, and ultimately, the drivers and carriers that are coming to pick up those trailers?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I think organizations are looking for an end-to-end visibility platform, meaning they want to know when certain activities are going to occur at the gate. Does the system have predictive ETA stating that, hey, this trailer should be arriving at your gate at such and such time? And once that information is available, it helps streamline the entire overall process in that then dock personnel can be scheduled based off those activities, and then also use that as the ability to streamline processes. In the future, I think that's going to be critical to see that end-to-end visibility. And in addition to that, also have additional visibility within the yard. And again, I spoke earlier of RFID technology. That in and of itself gives the applications the ability to actually know where pieces of equipment are at any given point in time within the yard.
That's great. And if you were to summarize, these are the three big things that are coming in the future, right? As you look to the next 3 to 5 years of technology, we talk a lot about transformation and other things like digitalization of technology. What are kind of the three big things that are going to come in the future within the yard management industry from a tech standpoint?
Yeah, so I think YMS solutions need to improve upon the way the gate operations work currently. We can't tie down individuals or gate employees at the gate to do their job, whether it be pen and paper or an actual computer at that gate. We need to make them more fluid and improve the fluidity at the gate. In addition to that, I think the use of RFID technology obviously has brought in and improved the process as a whole. But I think in the future, we'll see additional technologies that are going to be used that may include an active RFID instead of a passive RFID tag. And that will enable the ability to eliminate a lot of the necessary hardware that's currently used and then streamline that process even further.
That's great. Yeah, I think I look back to kind of COVID. One of the clear things is just acceleration of the touchless supply chain, right? And YMS clearly fits in as you talk about, one, the appointment setting process, to the gate operation, 3, the facilitation of trailer movements and entry and exit of a driver. So, really appreciate your thoughts there. So that's going to wrap it up for today's episode on the Supply Chainaics. Seve, I can't thank you enough. As a reminder for our listeners, this is the first of a 4-series part for Supply Chainaics. Our next episode is going to be centered around an industry report that we sponsored that takes a very deep dive into the yard management space, as well as how does it look at and apply to certain industries and verticals that are out there. So please be on the lookout for our next episode of the Supply Chainaics, and hope everyone stays safe and has a healthy 2021.